Every day we work hard to put food on the table and provide for our families. In a Christian's life, work is more than just getting a paycheck. It's a way to honor God, to serve others, and to live out the purpose that God has given us. Today, let's explore how some of the most ordinary tasks can have the most extraordinary meaning. Let's dive in.
Always works.
So I'm currently reading a book with the men's group at my church, and the name of the book is called The Gospel at Work. And there was one section in the book that had the following sentence that really started to get me thinking. It says, "What is the point of work anyway in a Christian's life? Is there any meaning to it beyond providing goods and services, making money, and providing a living for myself and my family?" And it started to get me thinking, what if that's the only view that a lot of Christians have? What if that's the only view that they have to work with? Is that really a bad thing? And I do believe that work in a Christian's life can be so much more, but I don't really want to belittle that thought process. As a matter of fact, I really think that those points need to be celebrated in our society a little bit more than they are. Then the book kind of got me thinking about this thing that I call the dream job fallacy. I think there's this idea that if you find the perfect job, then you'll never have to work another day in your life. How many times have we heard that? I don't know, I've heard that so many times. If you find the job that you was made for, you will never have to work another day in your life. And I bet there's some people who have found the job that they feel like, man, I feel like this is just God's purpose written all over it. And I bet you those people in those jobs have times that they really don't want to do their job, where they really don't want to go to work. And they get frustrated with the job that they feel like they have just the ultimate purpose in having. But I think the problem with this dream job fallacy is, what happens if you never find that dream job? You know, me and myself, I'm 40 years old, and I've worked quite a bit of different jobs. But I've never found this dream job that I just felt fit me perfectly. What would happen if I believed in that dream job fallacy? This idea that this perfect job is out there for me to get. I would be so discontent right now. Imagine all the years that I've worked in my adult life, and I haven't found one job that I felt that was a perfect fit. That'd be crazy. I have found that one of the greatest purposes and just one of the greatest points of contentment that I get from when I work at my job is the idea that I get to provide for my wife, my kids. I get to make an honest living, and I'm doing something productive in society. To me, that is a huge reason why I do it. It's a huge reason. And let me say this, I believe that wherever God has me, whatever job that he has me to be at or to work at, that's the perfect place for me to be at. That is the perfect job, because God is sovereign. And if God is sovereign, he knows the places that I need to go to build me into the character of Christ in my life. And I have found that one of the greatest places of contentment that the Lord has brought me to is to know that I'm taking care of my wife and my kids. That's a huge honor. And I think it's really taken lightly today, very lightly. A man who is constantly going to work every day and providing for the needs of his wife and his kids, in a sense, is kind of laying his life down every day. Because there's times that he may not feel like going to work. There's times that I've been to work and there's things that I don't like about it. There's times that my job is frustrating and can be hard. But I am secure in knowing that my wife and my kids are better off when I go out and I take care of them. So let's talk about the quiet strength of work. The man who gets up every day and provides for his kids and may not be celebrated because of that. 1 Thessalonians 4:11-12 says, to make it your ambition to lead a quiet life and attend to your own business and work with your hands, just as we instructed you, so that you will behave properly towards outsiders and not be in any need. Society often glorifies fame, fortune, and freedom, but overlooks the man who shows up every day for his family. I think a lot of times people want to focus on the things that look really big. They want to focus on becoming famous or acquiring a lot of wealth or accomplishing something that's really big. But I think that the things that we think are big are a lot of times are really small in God's eyes. And those things that we think are small may be viewed as great in God's eyes. And maybe to some people, taking care of your family and showing up every day, going to work, faithfully providing for your family, maybe it may look small to them, but I don't think that's small in the eyes of God. I think God views that as being a faithful father who is loving his wife and loving his kids correctly. Because I don't think that faithful work is necessarily mediocrity. Some people might think that's, you're just kind of going through the motions. It may not be that at all. It may actually be a person who is actually spiritually mature, that they actually see that as service to God. They see that as a way to honor and serve Christ by faithfully doing that. I think there's great beauty in doing small, consistent things that honors and pleases the Lord. People want to focus on the mountaintop. They want to focus on the huge things. But I think it's those small, little faithful things that you do every day that honors the Lord. And I don't think providing is all physical. I actually think that there is really a spiritual side of providing. 1 Timothy 5:8 says, but if anyone does not provide for his own, and especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. See, because I don't think a paycheck is just money. It's a sign of stewardship, faithfulness, and love in action as well. And it shows great sacrifice too. Anytime I take a paycheck or I see that paycheck in my bank account, that represents time that I used for people besides myself. And I know a lot of people may not view it that way, but I view it as this is time that I've offered to the Lord, and this is also time that I've sacrificed for my loved ones, my wife and my kids. Because I think that God sees the man who is bearing the burden of work, but still gets up and faithfully goes. He doesn't complain. He goes to work every day. I think God sees that. God notices that. And I think that kind of diligence and that self-sacrifice is going to speak louder than any sermon you're going to hear on a Sunday morning. When a wife and the kids notice that, they have a husband, they have a father who is faithfully serving them every day, that's greater than any sermon, any words, any talk will do for somebody. The world may not clap for the man who works in silence, but his family stability is proof of his faithfulness. And I want to encourage you that if you're one of those men who work every day for his family, for his wife, you're not missing out on something that's greater. Actually, you're fulfilling one of the greatest callings that you have in your life. What you're doing every day is you're faithfully showing your love through responsibility. We need to rewire our brains and think a little differently about this. A man's daily work, done in love and submission towards God, echoes in eternity, because God honors the labor that reflects his heart. So whether if your work is big or small or glamorous or not so glamorous, I want you to remember this. If God is glorified through it, then there's purpose in it. Don't forget that. And y'all, that's a reason to celebrate. That is a great reason to celebrate. Man, let's take this time to honor the Lord and to rewire our brain and change the way that we think about our work, because our work is so important. You just don't know how important it is. Work well, work faithfully, and find contentment in knowing that even the simplest labor can honor the Lord. See you in the next video. If you like what you saw today, subscribe and tap that notification bell. Until next time, stay diligent.
Want more? Watch one of these videos next. And don't forget to subscribe to stay updated.